Interfering in state government. Work through governor during Congress. Rule in central government over India. One prominent example of alleged interference by the central government, led by the Congress Party, through a governor in a state government's affairs, occurred in the state of Uttar Pradesh in the 1980s. During the tenure of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, who was from the Indian National Congress, there were accusations of interference in the functioning of the state government in Uttar Pradesh, which was then led by Chief Minister Veer Bahadur Singh, also from the Congress Party. In 1988, there was a significant political crisis in Uttar Pradesh due to factionalism within the Congress Party. Chief Minister Veer Bahadur Singh faced opposition from a faction within his own party, led by senior Congress leader Arjun Singh. This factional feud led to instability in the state government. Amidst this political turmoil, Governor Romesh Bhandari, who was appointed by the central government, was accused of siding with the dissenting faction within the Congress Party and interfering in the state government's affairs. There were allegations that the governor, with the backing of the central government, was pressuring Chief Minister Veer Bahadur Singh to resign. Ultimately, Veer Bahadur Singh resigned from his position as Chief Minister, and Arjun Singh was appointed as his successor. This transition was seen as a result of the central government's involvement in the state's internal politics, with the governor playing a key role in facilitating the change in leadership. The events in Uttar Pradesh during the 1980s serve as an example of how the central government, particularly when led by the Congress Party, can exert influence over state governments through the office of the governor. Such interference can lead to accusations of undermining democratic processes and party politics at the state level, withholding funds from state governments during Congress rule in central government over India. One example of withholding funds from state governments during Congress rule at the central government level in India involves the dispute between the central government and the West Bengal state government led by the Left Front coalition during the late 2000s. In 2008, the then Left Front government in West Bengal, led by Chief Minister Buddhadev Bhattacharjee, proposed the creation of a chemical hub in Nandigram, which led to widespread protests from local farmers and villagers concerned about land acquisition and environmental issues. The situation escalated into violence, resulting in casualties. In response to the violence and the government's handling of the situation, the central government, which was led by the Indian National Congress, decided to withhold funds earmarked for West Bengal under various central schemes. These funds were crucial for the state's development programs and welfare schemes. The decision to withhold funds was seen as a punitive measure by the central government to pressure the state government to address the situation in Nandigram and to express dissatisfaction with its handling of the protests. This move sparked criticism from the Left Front government and its allies, who accused the central government of using financial leverage to interfere in the state's affairs and undermine its autonomy. They argued that withholding funds was a violation of federal principles and undermined cooperative federalism. However, the central government defended its decision, stating that it was necessary to ensure accountability and to encourage states to adhere to governance standards and principles. Ultimately, the dispute between the central and state governments was resolved through negotiations, and the funds were eventually released to West Bengal. Nevertheless, the episode underscored the tensions that can arise between the central and state governments, particularly when different political parties are in power at the two levels, and highlighted the issue of financial autonomy and federalism in India. Taking away the right of the citizens to protest during Congress rule in central government over India. One such incident that garnered significant attention occurred in 2011 during the United Progressive Alliance (UPA) government's tenure, which was led by the Indian National Congress. The incident involved the anti-corruption movement led by social activist Anna Hazare. Anna Hazare, along with his supporters, initiated a nationwide movement demanding the enactment of a strong anti-corruption legislation known as the Lokpal Bill. The movement gained momentum and led to widespread protests across the country. However, the UPA government's response to the protests initially included attempts to limit the scope and scale of the demonstrations. There were instances where authorities imposed restrictions on protest locations and attempted to prevent large gatherings. One notable incident was when Anna Hazare announced plans for an indefinite hunger strike in August 2011. The Delhi police initially denied permission for the protests, citing concerns over law and order. This decision was met with widespread criticism, with many accusing the government of curbing citizens' right to peaceful assembly and protest, as the Congress used the name of the Indian Army in election political campaigns. Yes, the Indian National Congress, often referred to as Congress, has utilized the name and achievements of the Indian Army in its election political campaigns. One notable example occurred during the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. During the campaign, the Congress Party, led by its president at the time, Rahul Gandhi, highlighted the issue of national security and the role of the Indian Army in defending the country. In particular, the Congress Party focused on the government's handling of tensions with Pakistan following the Pulwama terror attack and the subsequent airstrikes conducted by India. Rahul Gandhi and other Congress leaders emphasized the need for a strong and united response to terrorism, while also criticizing the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, for alleged failures in effectively managing national security challenges. Congress leaders expressed solidarity with the Indian Army and called for unity in addressing security threats. Comparing the political systems of India, North Korea, and Russia involves contrasting democratic and authoritarian forms of governance. While India is a parliamentary democracy, North Korea and Russia are considered authoritarian regimes, albeit with significant differences in their governing structures and practices. Here's a comparison. Political system. India. India operates as the world's largest democracy, with a parliamentary system of government. It has a multi-party political landscape, free and fair elections, and a separation of powers between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. North Korea. North Korea is a totalitarian state under the rule of the Kim dynasty, currently led by Kim Jong-un. It operates under the ideology of Juche, with the Workers' Party of Korea exercising absolute control over all aspects of society, politics, and the economy. Elections are not free or fair, and the government tightly controls all political institutions. Russia. Russia has a political system characterized by elements of authoritarianism under President Vladimir Putin. While Russia holds elections, they are often marred by allegations of irregularities and lack of genuine competition. Putin's United Russia Party dominates the political landscape, and the government wields significant control over the media and civil society. Civil liberties and human rights. India. India has a constitutionally guaranteed set of fundamental rights that include freedoms of speech, expression, and association. However, there have been concerns about the protection of these rights, including issues related to freedom of the press, religious freedom, and treatment of minorities. North Korea. North Korea is notorious for its severe repression of civil liberties and human rights abuses. Freedom of speech, expression, and association are virtually non-existent, and the government maintains strict control over information and dissent. Russia. Russia has seen a decline in civil liberties and human rights under Putin's rule, with restrictions on freedom of speech, assembly, and political opposition. There have been numerous reports of harassment, intimidation, and violence against journalists, activists, and opposition figures. International relations. India. India is a member of various international organizations and maintains diplomatic relations with countries worldwide. It generally pursues a policy of non-alignment and seeks to balance its relationships with major powers such as the United States, Russia, and China. North Korea. North Korea's foreign policy is characterized by isolationism and confrontation with the international community, particularly the United States and its allies. It has faced widespread condemnation and sanctions for its nuclear weapons program and human rights abuses. Russia. Russia plays a significant role in global geopolitics and maintains close ties with countries in its sphere of influence. However, it has faced criticism and sanctions from Western countries for its actions in Ukraine, Syria, and alleged interference in other countries' domestic affairs. In summary, while all three countries have unique political systems and challenges, India's democracy contrasts sharply with the authoritarian regimes of North Korea and Russia in terms of political freedoms, human rights, and international relations.